Let's take the couch.
Yeah.
Good morning. So I'm excited to be here with three amazing founders. My name is Elliott Adams, and today we have representatives from SendGrid, Culture Trip, and Naudts. And of course, we're going to talk about competition. So, friends, competition is something that, of course, every company has. Direct competitors, indirect competitors. First, before we get into the specifics of your competitors, if we could just get a quick soundbite, one sentence about each of your companies.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Samir. SendGrid is a category leader in digital customer communications. We send about 45 billion emails every month on behalf of 74,000 paying customers around the world. We reach about half of the world's online email population. We're in your inbox all day long with some of the brands you most love.
My name is Falon Fatemi from Naudts. Naudts is a deep learning engine that predicts the relevant people and companies that will be transformative to your personal or professional life. So whether that's to help you as an organization better hire, market, and sell, or find your next job opportunity, we're creating the category of artificial intuition.
I'm Kris. I'm the founder of Culture Trip. We're a startup operating across travel, media, and entertainment. We create stories really to help people experience what's special and unique about a place, its people, and its culture. There's huge appetite, clearly, for what we do. We have nearly 20 million monthly visitors to our website, had about 2 billion views on our videos in the last 2 years. And the app is very well received at user level and have about 1.5 million downloads to reflect that.
OK. Thank you. Samir, you've sent well over 1 trillion emails, if I understand correctly.
Yeah, lifetime to date, over 1 trillion. 1.5 trillion by the end of this year.
But who's counting? You're a public company. Recently, it's been publicly stated you're going to be merging, I think, with Twilio.
Yep. Very excited about that combination. Just announced October 15th, yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So it hasn't been all roses along the way. I know that one interesting episode in SendGrid's history was when Amazon made an announcement. And if I remember correctly, it was 2011. Amazon said, so SendGrid is transactional email. And Amazon said, we now have our own transactional email service.
Yeah.
How did that feel?
Boy, I tell you, I think it was a pretty scary day for everybody at SendGrid at the time. So I guess I would say to all the startup founders out in the room, imagine this: our three founders went through the TechStars program in the summer of 2009. 18 months later, in January of 2011, AWS, Amazon Web Services, cloud computing juggernaut, announces the introduction of their own simple email service, SES. When SendGrid was a $6 million a year startup, we maybe had 50, 60 employees. On paper, you would say, gosh, this could be a game over event for the company. What I'd encourage all the startup founders out there to do is just stay maniacally focused on your customer and solving deeply with innovation the needs of the challenges they're facing, and you will outcompete anyone. If you are actually staying focused on it, because the moves by the largest players, they're often moves that they are adding a thing on to a big platform of services, but they'll do it up here. They'll do it as in literally in their name as implied. It's a simple email service. If somebody wanted the sophisticated thing, they're still going to need what you provide. And so don't get too scared if there are elephants in your midst that are making moves. Be more nimble and agile. Stay focused on your customer, and you can still win, as we've been fortunate to do.
Can you give us a specific on that, in relation to Amazon? How do you guys position, differentiated yourself?
Yeah, I mean, as an example, what we did is we actually created a pared back version that was the equivalent of their simple email, priced it competitively with them, and then kept all of our innovation in higher level, higher price packages, and then just continued to engage with our customers on what they needed most and kept building out more and more capabilities you think about what are they unlikely to do that we're able to do. So Amazon is known to not have a lot of customer touch. It's very hard to pick up the phone and call Amazon's support line. So we have an incredible support organization. If you're a developer trying to get your email infrastructure set up, you may have a few questions. We would answer not only phone calls from customers setting up on SendGrid, but customers that were setting up on any email platform. Just to make it clear, we are here to serve our customers.
Wow.
And we just built a lot of goodwill in the community, and that brand and reputation became known, and we've enjoyed a lot of success ever since.
Here you are.
Here we are.
So Falon, Node is fascinating. You had a phrase you used just now. It wasn't artificial intelligence. It was artificial
intuition.
OK. Maybe I just don't know what that means, but can you fill me in?
Sure. So we all know who our best customers are, and we all know who our best employees are. But we don't really know what makes them our best customers or best employees. We just know exactly who they are, and we want to find more of them. And so all you do is you essentially train Node on your intuition of your best employees or your best customers, and the system figures out what does that mean and uses that to predict your next customers or hires that will result in upwards of 5x higher conversions, both in terms of time to conversion as well as in terms of higher deal sizes. And our customers include Dell, Mitel, Shortel, even the Dallas Mavericks.
Wow.
Cool.
What I'm wondering is, you're a relatively new company. You're in this sort of frontier market space, AI, new solutions. If there's not a Node direct competitor right now, then who is your competition? Who are you solving against?
So, I mean, in terms of, AI is sort of everywhere. And like Samir said, a lot of these bigger companies are now trying to add AI as sort of a feature of what they do.
Right.
We're built from the ground up, unsupervised deep learning. And that's very, very hard to do. There's about 500 people on the planet that actually know how to leverage deep learning, let alone actually commercialize it. And we have about 4 of them on our team. Now, from a competitive standpoint, what we're competing with is sort of this old way of doing things, both in terms of organizations, Fortune 500 companies like American Express hiring 1,500 data scientists and actually reducing their need to try and be a data science company when they're a payments company, and perhaps reduce that down to leveraging our technology and save on costs and drive better business outcomes, as well as leveraging different point solutions on the market too. So from a macro perspective, they're sort of looking at recommendation systems as they exist today as well, in terms of just collaborative filtering, not really personalized, like you purchased this item and other people who purchased this item bought this as well. Like that's not really understanding you, and that's not driving a better personalized experience to be able to augment that.
So you're going up against that status quo of what you may consider to be inferior, but everyone's already using it, they're happy with it, they just may not know even the alternative.
Yeah, and then on the other side of that, I'd say we're also sort of competing with the need to hire lots of salespeople or the need to hire a lot of recruiters whose job is basically to act as human crawlers and do a lot of sourcing, right? Through researching on the web, searching all over the place, and spending lots of time and money, where they could actually, their roles could be evolved to doing things that are much more higher value, and perhaps they would actually enjoy and drive more value for the businesses.
Great.
That's great.
Kris, last but not least, our in-house psychiatrist by training, if I remember correctly.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
You've had an interesting journey, not just from psychiatry, but from when you founded Culture Trip and a couple of pivots along the way.
Sure.
But more recently, you raised a pretty substantial round, $80 million. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
What I'm curious to know, for one, is you're in the travel space, which, I mean, certainly we all know is a saturated market. And yet you're a startup. You just raised a very considerable round of money. Why are you in travel, and what's the opportunity you see?
Okay, I think we're not only in travel. We're in travel and also in media and entertainment. And we believe that media and entertainment is an industry that doesn't get large investments because the monetization models of legacy media in particular have an inherent ceiling because it's eyeball-based, it's advertising. The exception being Netflix with a subscription model, which is interesting, but mostly it's eyeballs, and that limits their possibilities. Plus, the content creation economics are not favorable. Creating good quality content is expensive. So that was sort of the state in which, I guess, as an outsider, as a psychiatrist, I came to experience that space. And then looking at travel was really interesting, because travel, it's crowded, it's very crowded, but at the conversion point, at least there are a few dominant players. You have Airbnb at the conversion point, you have Booking.com, Expedia, TripAdvisor, if you like. Big players, so there's go-to brands, go-to platforms. If you look at the top of the funnel, where you think about where you might go, where you're looking for inspiration, super crowded as well, but no domineering players. There is no, I mean, and I challenge everybody, there's no go-to app or go-to website to get inspired. The Lonely Planets, the Rough Guides, the Timeouts, they haven't really managed to transform themselves into that go-to platform or go-to app for this age and for the millennial generation. So this is where we think we sit. We think that with creative diversification and a content creation model and technological innovation, that we can win the battle at the top of the funnel, and we're hoping to be able to take our users down all towards the journey, all through the journey towards conversion and booking.
I see. And so if I understand correctly, the Booking.coms and Airbnbs are, in your model, they're at the bottom of the funnel, sort of selling to people who already know where they're going or what they want.
Yeah.
And you want to do this curation and sort of walk them through some options and then eventually take them to
That's
Booking.
right. I mean, everybody in our mind is somewhere on the so-called trip cycle. The vast majority of your time, you're in the no plans part. I mean, you're not really gearing up for a trip or planning one. But a good segment of that cycle, you are actually pre-trip, you're during trip, and you're after trip. So we fit that full cycle, like nobody else really does.
And could I ask one more question on this?
Yeah.
So you're a content site. There's also, not to pick on you, a huge amount of content on the web.
Yeah.
About everything, travel included. So I'm curious how you differentiate on that as well.
Yeah. I think this model wasn't built overnight, right? So the quality of the content, the written content, has gotten better and better and better. So we build on that. But where I'm really excited now is the visual media. So we start to really do interesting video stories. In fact, we're going to do our first fictional short film, actually, in November. We've just dropped a series called Hungerlust, which is all around food and culture. So there really we're doing things in a way that, again, traditional travel providers don't do, at a level of creativity that they are not perhaps built to do. And then what I'm also super excited about is our illustration and animation department. I mean, if you come to the Coachtrip app or website, it's inevitable that you will take away that we are doing illustration and animation. It's a very visual medium and a very strong part of the brand. So we think that that's how we can win, by diversification.
High quality content.
High quality, diverse, creative content.
This reminds me of another great war story I've heard about SendGrid. And Mandrill, which I think is a MailChimp product.
Yeah.
They were also, at one point, really coming in strong into your territory. And I think in that case, they were undercutting on price and had substantially more features, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, at the time, you know, it's, I go back in that storytelling. So Amazon SES, SendGrid was founded in 2009 in the summer. By January of 11, Amazon SES comes in. And I think it was early 2013, or maybe it was 2012, shortly thereafter, is when MailChimp introduces a competitive service. For what it's worth for all the founders, startups out there, when other folks come into your market, celebrate. I know it will feel uncomfortable. Yeah. That means that you are onto something. That means that you have actually hit on a problem space in a domain that is sufficiently large that people want to attack it from multiple vectors, and they all see a big opportunity. So, you know, but it did create more challenge for us as we got into the business. We were growing so fast at that particular point in the company's lifetime. We were just trying to hang on, you know, keep up with demand, get the infrastructure to scale, get the software scaling at the rates that we were growing. Our rate of innovation started to decrease while we were focused on just keeping up with demand. Well, unfortunately, new entrants to a market, whenever they see a very successful company, that's what attracts competition. That competition will go and look and say, well, what are they not doing perfectly well, or where could we innovate around what they are doing? They will create that innovation while you're just trying to keep up with your demand, and all of a sudden you'll start to see some feature gaps. So we then had to go, you know, kind of have a wake-up call and say, okay, these guys are undercutting on price. They have actually closed a few gaps around the edges that we haven't focused on because we've been trying to keep up. And so we created a Tiger team. They had this, a chart on their website that would say, the classic product marketing chart, all these features, check for us, X for SendGrid, check for us, X for SendGrid.
Yes, the matrix.
And that great matrix. And so we had a Tiger team that said, hey, pride of ownership, guys, we're going to take down one of those items every single month. And and that Tiger team got after it. Every month, they would take one down. Our general counsel would call theirs and say, that's no longer true. You have to take that down. Next month, that's no longer true. You have to take that down. By month 5 on the that's no longer true, you have to take that down. They took the whole page down. And then by February of 2016, they actually exited the market as a standalone product. So it does speak to the fact that while you want to be customer obsessed, you do need to be competitor aware.
Yeah.
And that competitor aware means know what they're doing, know how your customers are perceiving it, and if you've got exposure, make sure that you get after it and close the gaps and make sure your customers are seeing you as the clear #1 solution.
I think that's a great point. That's maybe a central tension for startups, maybe all companies, balancing customer obsession with the famous Andy Grove quote from Intel, where he says, "Only the paranoid survive."
Yeah.
Falon, I'm curious to know how you balance paranoia and customer obsession.
So I agree with a lot of the points that you brought up, Samir, but I'd say from my perspective too, I think it's really important to have a clear understanding of what is your vision for your company. How is the world going to be a better place once you are able to actually achieve that vision and achieve that scale, and really stay true to that and sort of ensure that you're aligning your roadmap to that, but constantly listening to your customers and figuring out what are the problems and challenges that they are having on a daily basis. What are they doing today without your product? And then with your product, how is that actually driving the business outcomes they care about? And then from there, being able to say, okay, so I'm focused on my vision. I'm focused on building revolutionary solutions to those problems that are not necessarily what the baseline of all the existing players on the market are doing, right? Like that is our job, is to be the North Star. Your customers are not supposed to be the North Star. You're supposed to listen to them and understand what challenges they're having and figure out how to build novel solutions and they never thought could exist. The classic example, that quote from Henry Ford, right? Like, customers wanted a faster horse, we built a car, right? Like that's pretty amazing. And that's really what we do as tech entrepreneurs. So I think I 100% agree. It's all about understanding what's going on in the market. What is the current experience that the market and sort of your customers are having without your product? And then how can you, level that up in an exponential way that can open up an entirely new market category or completely change the way and evolve their roles and how they do business.
Wonderful. That's going to have to close this out. If you would, please give a round for our panelists today.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Don't forget your water.
I haven't got one.